on Revelation 9 and 16, it says, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. So that's concerning those warheads, because you can't count how many missiles. That's what's going to bring them over here. So it's concerning the warriors. Matter of fact, let me continue. It says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued smoke and fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. See, and that was going to the muscles and how it propels it over here. That's where the power comes from, where it propels it over here. And it says with the heads, the nuclear warheads, that's where the pain come in. That's where the damage come from, man. Those nuclear warheads, and it's plenty of warheads on one missile, man. So just to mention the analogy, going back to a gun, you don't got a gun with one bullet. Nowadays, you got extended clips, from 30 to 50 bullets on a nigga. Put that on a handgun, man. So that's not even that show you how the spirit working on all levels. You think a nigga got a 30 round in the bullet, the gun usually hold uh, 15 and 17 bullets, but a nigga got it what he hold 50 now. How much more these militaries, man? You know, you have some of these military guys, they can hold 200 rounds, 1,000 rounds. So how much more of these missiles? You don't think they ain't just put two warheads on there? They probably put 10 or 20 on, and it's thousands of. It's a assembly. It's an army, man. That's what the scriptures call it. It's an army, man. So this is what's gonna do that damage. This is what's gonna bring forth that desert, and these nations have access to it. And as you can see when we go back to Jeremiah, who the target is, which is America. Jeremiah 51. Even when you go into these simulations, it always got to be New York City or something to be the standard on when a bomb drops, man. So Jeremiah 51 and verse 14, it reads, hold on, it's a lot. No, 50 and verse 14. It reads, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, see, all those that have nuclear capability, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she have sinned against the Lord. See, that's concerning America. This is the judgment of Babylon the Great, World War III. And it's becoming clear that's what it's going to be, man. That's the only way things are going to be made right, how things are going to be refreshed. The destruction has to come. And this is not something that's just said that's a shot from the hip. Nothing. You got to consider this as these things unfold on the planet Earth. Let's get something else going on to the Horsemen. Joel 2. And I started 2. I started 1. It said, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm at my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And the only ones that's acknowledging the return of Yahweh Shema Shai is the elect. That's why I said the holy mountain, man. Those are the only ones that have the proper reaction concerning this alarm. It says a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There have not ever been the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. See, so they just talking about ancient people that have came and went. This is concerning those missiles, man. because these missiles have their generations as well. You came from the atomic bomb, you know, to now you have hypersonic missiles, and it was certain generations. Just like you had these airplanes, they got generations of airplanes. It only got more effective. It only got more precise as time went on. Because it says that great people. This is not concerning actual people. Let's get that in the book of Isaiah 13. Because as we continue on and read in Joel 2, you're going to see. So Isaiah 13, verse 4, it reads, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts muster the hosts of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. So that like as a great people is concerning the weapons of his indignation. Those are those missiles, man. Going back to those horsemen, that's an army of the Lord, man. Just like the ants, that's an army of the Lord. The squirrels, even men. You got the Edomites, you know, Lord can send a gook, the gooks to get, that all everything's at the disposal of Yahweh by himself. You know, as you can see, even with these militaries on the earth, what's the end all be all for every military? And it's the missiles, man. Even with America, they have that, different DEFCONs. And once you get to DEFCON 1, that means you ain't got no choice but to shoot a missile, man. You know? So this is the army of the Lord. Or I said, like as of a great people. This is Lord gonna have his spirit in these weapons. That's why I said from the end of heaven show you this is gonna be an aerial attack. It's gonna come from on high. There's not gonna be no ground troops. Matter of fact, let's go back to Joel. Because it's gonna go on to it. Joel 2 again, verse 3. So like, it says a fire devoured before them, and behind them a flame burning. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. See, yeah, because if you're here in America and the Lord ain't called you up into them ships, you ain't gonna be able to escape that, man. Because it says the garden of Eden before them, you see life, you know. But once the missiles come, it's gonna be desolate, man. It's gonna be a desert. And going back to concerning the judgment of Edom, that's the judgment of Edom. That this place is gonna be destroyed and will be left as a desert. Also, you can read that in Malachi, the first chapter, how the Lord said He's going to lay His mountains and His heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. That's America. That's why you talk about manifest destiny. Yeah, these devils the Edomites, the so-called white man, was set up to get America. This was his inheritance, But the results of him holding on to it is the destruction is going to be a desert. When you read Malachi, the first chapter. Let's continue on. It says, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the top of mountains shall they leap. The noise of the flame of a fire that devoured the stubble, as a strong people sat in battle array. See, when you see these similes and metaphors, it's not an actual people. These are the same, the missiles. And it said, like the noise, you hearing that fire. Oh, it talks about that in Judges, those that are delivered from the noise of archers. And you know anything about archery, that weapon will be, it's prominent in hunting because of the silence. You can't hear that weapon. you get hit with a bow and arrow, you don't hear them cock it, or even when they shoot it, you don't hit it till you hit. So what it means, the Northern Army, they're concerned these missiles coming over here. You hearing them flying, you know, hearing it get propelled over here, man. You hearing all the boisterous flames. You ever heard like fighter jet? Now imagine a lot, thousands of just roaring flames, This is as a people set in battle array, going back to that spirit of war, which is concerning these missiles, man. Let's continue on this. It says, before their face, the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. Yeah, because when you see those missiles and they talk about, you actually see it, it's like a countdown 2 minutes till you die. Once you see them missiles in the air, it ain't like you can find a route, you jet out. No, unless the Lord ain't called you up, it's a countdown to your death, man. These people gonna, it talks about they're gonna, faces of flames. Go back to Isaiah 13. It says, they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. And they shall march everyone on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Yeah, because those arrows have a certain destination. Every missile that's built, it already came with an address. They already have certain orders once they're being shot off. Let's get that real quick. In the book of Psalms, chapter 7, and verse, I started 12, it says, if he turn not, he will whet his sword. He have bent his bow and made it ready. And this concerns the Lord and how he's going to judge the wicked. He said he's going to whet his sword. Going back to how these missiles have gotten more precise as time went on. At first they had to, fly over that certain target, then drop it. Nowadays, you got these hypersonic missiles where they can stay within the atmosphere and dodge shit. You can shoot it from all trains and submarines. So the Lord made it well when He strike, it's not gonna be you ain't gonna have to put a lot of effort into it. It's gonna be a clean cut, man. That's why you're hearing about all these missiles and the upgrades. It says He have also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained of his arrows against the persecutors. So that the instruments of death is the arrows. That's the missiles, man. And it becomes clearer and clearer as we see things through the testimony of Yahushua. What else could this be talking about? Ain't no other time where this could, even the missiles, it's a bow and arrow. You got the silo and the bow. Then the missile itself, the arrow, the silo, house the fucking, the bow, man. I mean, the arrow, man. It says, yeah, that was pretty much the point. But you can see that He ordained his arrows against the persecutors, so they already got their marching orders. Going back to Joel and verse 8, it says, neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk everyone in his path. And when they shall fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. See? And that's the feeble missile defense system. Why I said they shall climb the wall like men of war, because that was one of the former defense of ancient city. They had the walls, man. So how is that played out in today's time? You have these domes to where these missiles would, prevent anything from falling in that land. You had, I forgot what they call Israel shit. Some dome. Even America got all these other countries. They got nuclear capability. They have They're the missile defense system. And with America, they had to slow down their simulation so much to get one missile out the sky, man. But even in that, let's just say they do hit something, it don't matter because the scripture said they shall not be wounded. So it's not gonna be a big explosion, and America gonna be saved. No, either you might see the smoke from the smoke, the missile still coming. It's gonna be dramatic. It's gonna be a dramatic destruction, man. But it's concerning the feeble defense system of America. You know, I forgot what I think they call it. I think they actually call it arrow or the certain missile they use as a form of defenses. They call it the arrow, I believe. You know, it says they shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run up the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. See, and that's what, as I mentioned earlier, it's not going to be ground troops. But the windows is the sky. Let's get that in, I think that Isaiah 24. Isaiah 24, I believe. Right. Isaiah 24 and verse 18, it says, and it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh up out of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. See, and that's what these elites they're gonna. They pretty much. I see that now. These devils fled into their bunkers because it said they fled from the noise of the fear, which this is part of this message. Even those missiles, man. As you can see, it said the windows on high are open. That's the sky, man. Cause that's the entry. That's how these missiles, it's come in stages. It get propelled over here in so many stages, but the last stage is when you see the warheads, and that's what John seen. He seen the last stage of those missiles coming over here. He said it looked like hailstone, the weight of a talent. That was just a warhead coming down now. So those windows is concerning the sky, man. And then the foundations do shake because that's how the missiles do. Once they hit ground zero, that's that earthquake, that great earthquake the scriptures talk about, man. So going back to Joel 2 and 10, it says the earth shall quake before them. See, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shine. So our people did that. This concerning the results of those missiles hitting this place, man. And that's immediately after the tribulation. That's what that in St. Matthew the 24th chapter said. Immediately after the tribulation, then the sun and the moon will be dark, and the stars shall not shine. And roughly paraphrase, that's the destruction, man. And that's the fate Esau, the so-called white man. This is how he's going to be cut off. And from this article, going back to this article, it says shifting world order threatens to expand the nuclear arms club. So that just means we closer to Esau's end, you know. And World War III is the fate of this world. So yeah, I just hope it will edify. I like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham Rakha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. They teach his word in all true faith and sincerity. Shalom.